Hi, my name is Shihoon Moon, and this is the Blue Lab tour. So I'm a second year CHBE PhD student in Dr. Honglu's group, and I'll let Lucinda introduce herself.
I'm Lucinda. I'm a third year BME homeschool BioE PhD student, also in Dr. Honglu's group.
Yeah, so for our lab and office space is on the third floor of the Engineered Biosystems building. We all here call it EBB. And then Hong's office is in this faculty and staff office suite on the third floor, so really close by. And before we get into the main lab and office space, I just want to show you a couple of common areas out here. So we meet once a week as a lab group for lab meeting, and that is all online over BlueJeans right now, but once that's back in person, we have this conference room that we can use. There's also a local reservation system as well as an online calendar that you can use to reserve the space for thesis defenses or thesis defense practices and practice calls, as well as this community kitchen area up here with microwaves and a refrigerator. So with that, we'll move into the main lab and office space. We also meet about once a week with people working on smaller or similar projects. We call that subgroup meeting, and it's held in the blue room, or it will be held in this room when things are back in person. Those meetings are also remotely over BlueJeans at the moment, though. So yeah, subgroups are about 5 to 10 people per subgroup. We have 3 or 4 of them at any given time, and they're flex. And every subgroup will meet every week or every other week. So this is our grad student office space. All the desks down here are ours, in addition to the desks in that room, and some more desks back that way. A public computer area right back here. So instead of everyone getting their own personal desktop or computer in the group, the way that we manage shared software and licenses is the public computers. So you also have remote access to these since a lot of people are working remotely at the moment. In our lab, a lot of the work that we do is with Elegans and Microfluidic devices. Elegans are biological microorganisms. They're not pathogenic or particularly dangerous to human beings, so they're classified as BSL-1 level organisms. And as a result, in general, we work with them on the bench a lot. And in our lab, people get their own benches, especially when you're a senior student. When you're first starting out, depending on availability, you may be paired with a more senior student to share a bench, and they'll also help coordinate your trainings and help you ramp up your research initially. So in addition to personal benches, for example, this is my personal bench, we also have some public areas such as this PDMS pouring area that we use for fabricating microfluidic devices, a spin coater that we use for fabricating multi-layer microfluidic devices, and then we'll go back into the main lab space to show you where the picking scopes are. So the picking scopes are what we use for individually selecting and manipulating individual microorganisms, or C. elegans, for assays. We have 4 of them in the lab. This is one of them. There's another one back there and another 2 back on that row of benches. They're spaced out right now for social distancing.
The whole purpose of using microfluidic devices is to either give specific stimulus or to provide different environments to the worms. And so we can image them either looking at their behavior or how their response is neuronally. And so this is our microscopy room. We have 2 projector scopes, one here and one here. They are inverted microscopes set up with a projector. And so the projector allows us, as well as the XY stage, allows us to stimulate freely moving worms with optogenetics. And so you can stimulate specific parts of their body, which is pretty cool. And if you need a little bit higher resolution than that, we generally immobilize the worms in microfluidic devices, and so a scope like this one has a little higher resolution and better light source, and so we use that for looking at stress reporters and other fluorescent imaging. And if you need even better resolution spatially and temporally, this scope over here, we have a light sheet microscope that Alex is developing, and so that'll allow you to look at the worm in 3D and also in a microfluidic device. This scope over here is generally used for imaging cells. It has DIC in order to do that. And then over here we have our fluorescent dissecting scope. So we can use it to screen fluorescent animals and pick them when we're creating transgenic lines, as well as just maintaining worms in general. So here's our injection scope. It has a micromanipulator, and you can do like injections of worms if you want to create your own new transgenic line. And then over here we have all the Raspberry Pis, and so the systems are like they each have a self-contained unit with a camera underneath and a light source on top. And we use these for imaging the worms on very long time scales. And that's pretty much all of our lab. Thank you for staying with us on this tour.